So before I got elevated, my prayer was that for the timeline that I'm a part of right now, that I'm getting ready to move into, and for whatever the highest timeline is for my highest good, I ask that Spirit show me things to help me cut through illusion. Now, I said I want to see the truth for what it is, no deceit. And so I was actually asking about that for the relationship that I'm currently in. But one thing about being elevated, I also asked for a bird's eye view. So that would be a bigger picture, going higher up, right? Being elevated. Bear with me. All right, so I had to spit. Anyway, upon that prayer and those intentions being set in my heart, I I remembered this information that I wanted to look into. And I don't know how it came up across my phone right now when I first saw it, but I saw it somehow. And it was talking about Christ's child, and it was depicted as a daughter, a woman. So that grabbed my attention immediately. And the name of that child was Atocha. That's all I remember. Couldn't remember the child's name, so now that I'm elevated, this comes back up, and I began to search in Google. Now, so far, it has led me to learning about coins. I also feel like Spirit is teaching me about currency and why it's important to look at the symbols that's on the currency. Because, and through this article or whatever this is, I feel like I'm learning why it's important to pay attention to the pictures. The images show, really to me, the biggest story of maybe a generation or the age by depicting its government. Right down, it can be traced to whoever the ruling authority is at that time and everything. And of course, the years that they rule. So, this is why all this somehow is important. Mind you, we're asking about cutting through illusion. So, they're starting, it seems, with the government. So, this ATOCHA deals with the Holy Child. Knowing what I know, loving what I love about linguistics and word study, I know that where son is, there's daughter. Where daughter is, there's son. There's no differentiation, for real. Even though, and I mean that both physically and spiritually, I mean that. So, and there's the only differentiation, let me be clear, there is a differentiation or a differentiation rather, sorry, I added extra shit, in the physical, because that's the reason why, as it pertains to marking one who is male or female in the physical state, this is why having that genitalia marking is important. That's the only differentiate. Oh my God, that's the only difference. Differentiation. That's the only difference. You know what? I'm starting to think, you guys, that people who mess up words aren't really messing up words, but are saying the different ways could be that the word was pronounced throughout history. Okay, moving on. Differentiation. Differentiation. The only one of those in the physical is that we present either male or female, and then a further Differentiation is when people are intersexed and they don't represent either or but both. Anyway, I digress. So this Atosha, I'm learning about it and I just started reading this article thing, and it talks about the Spanish coat of arms. And one thing that I've learned about the coat of arms, for me, because I descend from royalty, as in my opinion, anyone who is considered quote unquote chosen, this is what you may find always points to you in some way. Whether you are the so-called bastard child, whether you are of the royal bloodline through and through, both sides type shit. I've seen this depicted even in the Bible. So, anyway, you are of royal lineage, of royal bloodline, and so hence the reason why the coat of arms for you will always be about your family, your tribe, the people you come from. Okay? And there is a story that is depicted both in the coat of arms and in this currency that we're talking about. I always feel like the victor story is told, but also the story of the other side, okay, is told too. And to me, the other side is just who was in rulership before the new authority took over. Boom. Think the Last Kingdom, or Vikings, or Game of Thrones. Like, this type of energy is what's always at play. And if you see a lot of those films, you see that church and state have never been separated. Like, ever. And they only put on airs like it's separated. It's never been separated, and honestly, I don't feel like it'll ever be separated because it's not really separate. And even when we reach this place where in history in every age that they began to talk about the separation of church and state, those who are of the elect, and you tap into your energy, you know it's no separateness. Moving on. And this first thing that's highlighted, I didn't do it. It's just where where Google sent me to help me get on this tangent mentally. So it says the coin design in use during the ATOCHA time period, Atoka or Atosha time period, referred to as shield type, incorporated the Spanish coat of arms or shield on the obverse side and a cross representing the union of church and state. So here's a prime example of what I was talking about, how there is no separation, how there has always been both in union. It was always together. Anyway, then they started sharing more about Mexico City, Lima, and Potosi, which are apparently very important aspects of this particular coin, of the Holy Child, of this idea of, okay, the Holy Child of, it's called the Christ Child, so the anointed one, the anointed tribe of people, the anointed ruler at that time. So the ruling thought, the ruling ideas of the masses are connected to these places and are connected to the government and authority that is set to come out on top. for this age. And if you ask me, I'm going to venture and dare to say that there truly is, it seems to be only one idea and thought that can rule at once. However, that thought, like a like the ripples that are formed in water after a pebble or a turtle pops its head out and goes back in, whatever analogy, that one thought creates those many that branch off, are a derivative of this idea. Okay? Even the so called opposition or the opposing idea. The opposing idea is a derivative of the real deal. So, moving on. Although similar, they have features which make differentiation possible. This is especially true of the Mexican versus Peruvian coins. Shield type cob coinage was first struck. And when they say struck, they're talking, in my opinion, about people who actually mined the coins, okay? People who actually mined the minerals and the metal that would later form the coins. When they say struck, because they say it specifically in this article, and I noticed that they verses it with a machine. Okay, so the real thing, which is a person connected to this, doing the work that caused this to come forth. This is what struck deals with, the actual miner or miners or the owners of the miners who struck this coin. They first actually hit it at the Mexico City Mint in 1572. Somehow this is important to know. And they ceased production in 1733 when it was replaced by the machine struck pillar dollar. So right there in that phrase, I am seeing the ages as they change. You're seeing the ages. You're seeing quote unquote old fashioned, ancient, but actually the most important technology. And you are seeing the so called elevated, evolved, progressed, depiction with the machine and the person. This is why AI is important. This is the reason why iRobot was important and significant. The Manchurian Candidate, MK Ultra. These things, these thoughts that are being depicted reflect what always happens in our societies and kingdoms and people and tribes of people. There is always this idea of something that is antiquated, that is ancient, tradition, that truthfully is the one thing that always really is and always is, but becomes fragmented from itself in the name of progression. It gets further and further out, away, it seems, from the main idea, but it is in fact a reflection, if you will, an opposing side of the main idea. All right. So it says the elements of, hold on. The Lima Mint also struck shield type coins in 1572, but only a few coins were minted before operations ceased the same year. The mint reopened, so mint is important. And I'm talking probably the herb as well as whatever this word is meaning in this context. Let's go look it up, shall we? You don't even have to guess. Define. Damn it, which one was that one? What was those pages? Okay, so I'm not gonna trip out, but I'm hoping I can get back to what I was initially reading. Can I? Oh, I have lost it, but I guess I'll find it again at some point. But Spirit, I'm gonna ask you that if it's meant for me to go back, that you allow me to find it. Anyway, define meant. Here we go. A place where money is coined, especially under state authority. So whenever I hear the state authority now, right now in this energy, it means government authority, period. So the kingdom that is ruling. Okay. Mint can also mean a sum of money. So pristine condition as new. See, producing for the first time. So each time a coin is minted, that means that one coin has come to its end and another one is being presented. A new one is being presented. So again, keeping with this idea of ideas being, or a ruling thought, that's what government and church and stuff is about, right? The ruling thought, so-called the new thought that is coming in for this particular age, for generations upon generations upon generations, this thought is going to be coming in. Only there is, according to a lot of ancient texts, there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is but a repetition of the one, a replica, a differentiation of the one, a variable, a mutation of the one. So hence this idea where I was saying every time we're going to always see these two ideals playing out, even if it's like it breaks down into so many more. You can put it back into two and you can put it into one idea. And the two thoughts will really just be the reflection, the protagonist and the antagonist of each other. Boom. Moving on. So the minting is going to always be which idea is ruling. age. That moment. All right, let's get out of here. We should also go to the etymology of it. We saw it a little bit though. You guys, I have something to say. Okay, so it is my honest to God belief that most tribes of people looked like me. They were initially, I think, of a dark complexion. Now, I don't think it was only dark though. I think that because dark can go into so many different colors, I think that they possessed like all the colors eventually, and you got to see that the more of them that you met all over the world. But that's why I believe that when you go to the root of a nation, to this day, you go to the root of a nation, you're going to find people who look like me, and of course, significantly darker. That's what I think. But anyways, the reason I said that was because I am looking at Old English for this and West Germanic and Latin. A lot of people with the understanding that a lot of us have been given about what those people could look like, initially with the way that things are now, because it has been whitewashed, you would assume that all of those people are white, but they are not. The most ancient of all of those nations mentioned are people who look like me. They look like me and darker. Moving on. And that's everywhere around the world, no matter where. You can pick anywhere and it's gonna look like me, period. Hence the reason why in our society right now, because we are not the ruling authority right now, but we are also rulers. And in fact, we're the first minted, if you will. Right now, the victor of everything doesn't look like us. They are a part of us, they come from us, but they are not fully in their strength us. But they are the victor of this age, and that was going to happen. And so because of that, this is the reason that just anybody who looks like me and or of course significantly darker, this is the reason that we are in all the places that we are treated this way. We are both highly revered and the most hated. You hear what I said? We are both. There are those of us who know who the fuck we are, they remember. And I'm talking about they remember down to the way that we are treated by their government. they remember. And so there is a thought that permeates those places that caters to that knowledge. And in all the places that that knowledge has been forgotten or purposely hidden, those are the places where you get to see the hatred of those, of the people, of the original peoples. You see them gravely mistreated. Like they're treated as nothing, as worthless. But that's all because of the true value that they possess and hold. And they, it's important that they see themselves as not in the value for the best interest of the ruling class and authority, which is the opposite of them. All right, moving on. Mint can also mean perfect. And they also say to stamp metal to make coins, create money. What do the people who look like me all around the world, we have been used to create money? 26 on the clock when I said that, which would have been 8. Leo. August. Maybe even for some people, life path number 8. If such a thing exists. I think it does. But anyway, moving on. I have gotten, I guess, further off the tangent, but I'm so grateful. I wish I could find that, what I was reading about the Christ child, I guess, because somehow it has everything to do with relationship and all that good stuff. My personal one, and then even more. Okay. Now I might need to just try to put what I remember reading in the article in here. Let's see if this will help me. Okay, so I do want to talk about how even in that article, or in one of them, no, it was one of the articles that I had read briefly. They were talking about how this was also the name of a ship that they found wrecked at a certain place that's, I'm sure, important. And people went to go and dive, and it was confirmed apparently that this ship carried an innumerable, it feels like, amount of treasure aboard it. And so I would venture to say that that place, the area that the shipwreck was found, I believe that this would be considered a very holy and a very not only spiritually rich place, but people who go there could possibly find themselves shortly thereafter wealthy in some way. Like, but I do mean fiscally too, though. And I was looking at one of the coins, and for me, it kind of looks like this is where in astrology the part of fortune symbol could come from. But this is me just speculating, okay? And there was a cross mentioned, but a cross is an X too. And I bring that up because Oh my God. And maybe this is the reason why it's depicted as a woman or a girl, a daughter. Anyway, X. X is a combination, an intersection of masculine and feminine energy. Period. And this is what all life material, from the inner workings to the outer, is what it's made of. When it comes to gendering in the mammals, gendering in the humans, supposedly, gendering in us, in our kind, you either have two of those X's or you have one full X and one depleted X, an X that is different because it's no longer at its full capacity. Okay, it is somehow weakened, it is incapacitated. So, when you gender that, the two X's is what you gender: a daughter, a girl, a female, one who would go on to be a woman or mother. This is important. In my studies, I found that, and here again is why I say first, let me go back to this first. This is why it was important for me to say earlier, where you see a son, you will always see a daughter, and vice versa. Where you see a daughter, you will always see a son. Because the truth of the matter is, they both exist in one. The X marks the spot. The X is that masculine and feminine energy in intersection. But to have two of those wholly functional, strong in their strength, not depleted, but whole, well, we see that. You see that in the woman and the girl. So, if you are, and I'm saying this also to point out that women, this is probably why women are such generators of wealth and treasure and delicacies, because we have a double portion of that energy. This is not taking away, really, even though in a way it kind of does, because in essence, those who are born men, they are not fully whole. In fact, I believe that the understanding of and the need for marriage is so that they can become whole, be completed again, be made whole. Like, you remember back in like period pieces in ancient texts, even when it comes to money, to be made whole, let's say that whether it's in robbery or whether it's in wages, like a person, two people had a contract and a covenant together, the work is done, but maybe somebody is limited or they are lack or slack on their money. To be made whole would be to give the person who did the work, and are owed money that they are lacking. It would be to give that person something of equal value, right? Or maybe even of greater value until they were made whole, or to make them whole. I gotta hurry up because my daughter is waking up, but to have the why, this is what marriage does for the man and the woman. Even though they are really the same, they come from the same genetic makeups and markers, ultimately, there is differentiation between them. And marriage, a true union, in my opinion, really can only come together when the thought is singular, when both parties truly are in, they desire like the same things. For real, for real. Like a man and a woman who desire in a lot of the same ways, the same things. And they work towards that together and apart. To me, that's the signings of a marriage that is covenantal. It's soul, it's spiritual, it is everything that that blood of my blood, bone of my bone shit is made of. Okay? And to have that is wealth. And the Bible even depicts, and not just the Bible, so many ancient texts from all around the world tend to depict the union of the masculine and feminine, both energetically as well as physically. They always call that the most highest, most beautiful, most rich experience that one can have. This is also the reason why it can be distorted and why any man or woman of ambition can seek a mate close enough to their vision, don't have to be, but close enough to their vision, and harvest energy that makes them wealthy from them, but not actually honor them in wisdom as they should. My baby is waking up, so that is my cue to go. I thank God for these revelations. It's beautiful. There's so much more to be revealed here, too. There's so much more to be revealed for me, but that'll be another time. But this is amazing. This is amazing. All right. Peace, love, light, and darkness, which all work together to bring balance and harmony first within ourselves and then within our world. It's been my pleasure. Like and comment for more.